You are listening to the Life Coach School podcast with Brooke Castillo, episode number 332.
Welcome to the Life Coach School podcast, where it's all about real clients, real problems, and real coaching. And now, your host, Master Coach Instructor, Brooke Castillo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we are talking to men. What is happening? How did men get on the podcast? I'm going to tell you. There are two fastest growing populations signing up for the Life Coach School. One is kids that don't want to go to college and just want to become life coaches. And the other is men. So I'm excited to talk to 5 men who are life coaches through the Life Coach School and find out how they got in. All my marketing is to women. Why did they join the Life Coach School? What do they think about being a life coach, and any secrets that they have that they want to share with any men who are considering signing up but are afraid because there's so many women. So let's get started. The way that I want to do this is I'm going to go ahead and just start calling on each of them, have them introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about themselves, and then we'll just open up a discussion towards the end once everyone's introduced. So let's go ahead and start with you, Tyson.
All right.
Who are you? Tell us a little bit about you.
So my name is Tyson Bradley. I actually used to work for the Life Coach School. And
that's right.
You know, what's interesting is I actually found your podcast probably about 5 years ago. I was getting a master's degree in human resources. I've always loved helping people and helping them be more productive, better at life. And when I found your model and everything that you taught, it made everything else that I learned in school, it made sense.
Oh, nice.
It just made everything more applicable. It explained the other models I was learning about human behavior better. And what was so fascinating is that I came down to Dallas to work with AT&T, who's quartered there. And then you came to Dallas.
Yep.
And I remember going to the model funds that you used to have and walking into a room filled with women. and I knew, I knew that you appealed to women. And yet there was something within me that I thought, you know what? I'm jumping in something that other men don't understand as the secret.
To the universe.
To the universe. And so me being there amidst all the women, I was just like, this is totally fine. I feel like I'm at an advantage here. Because I'm getting in on the secret that other men don't really know and haven't truly embraced.
Interesting.
And so the more I dove in, the more I got to know you and the team, the more I just fell in love. And obviously so much so that it's just I wanted to work there, and now just helping other life coaches in managing their time and following through on their calendar. So that's what I do now in terms of my business and loving every minute of it.
Yeah, so Tyson came to work for me and we loved him, and then he decided he wanted to go start his own business. And we, of course, always support that at the Life Coach School, but not without a lot of ribbing and complaining. And so anyway, we miss Tyson at the Life Coach School, but now he's coaching all of his clients on managing their time. So that's awesome. Yep. And we'll give, at the end, everyone can give their URLs. So if people want to come and find you and work with you. We've had you on the podcast. This is your second time, right?
This is second time, so I feel special.
Exciting. Okay, so that's Tyson. Let's go to you, Dex. Let's go to you next.
Thanks, Brooke. As you know, I'm working for the Life Coach School, but I came here because of Frank Kern, actually.
Oh, really?
I was following Frank Kern, and one day on Facebook, your ads came up.
Oh, nice.
And I started following the podcast, and this work, the work that you do makes sense to me in the way that nothing else ever had. It was like something practical I could actually do that would actually make a difference. And it made a huge difference for me in my life at that time. And I was already on the lookout for a coaching school.
Okay.
Because I had a career in IT that I'd kind of crashed out of in burnout, had a heart attack and all that. And I'd switched to energy healing, which I love so much. But I needed to bump up my coaching in that so that people could run with the ball a bit more. Yeah. When I was healing them, they could actually promote their own healing. So I was looking for a coach already. So when I came in, it was like a no-brainer.
Yeah, nice.
And I wanted to join in. So,
and then did you come straight to certification, or did you listen to the podcast for a while first, or how did that all develop?
well, I listened to the podcast, but only for a couple of months. Then I signed up for the scholars.
Okay.
And that was just after I'd had my heart attack and I was lying around on a sofa feeling sorry for myself. And I pretty quickly signed up for certification. But then I recovered from my heart attack and I got hit by a car.
Oh my gosh, what is happening? Stop.
The interview I had for coaching, I was in hospital for 3 months, but the interview I had for the coaching certification was in my first week of hospital when I couldn't actually move. I was lying there in my bed and I couldn't sit up. I was like, And
that's
then
amazing.
I came to certification straight out of hospital.
That's so awesome. Okay, so any of you who are thinking about signing up for certification, but you think it's a little bit inconvenient, you just need to think about Dex. He was in the hospital, still signed up, still went through certification, got certified. And then what happened after certification?
Well, then I was very, very incented to work with people in burnout. Having had my own experience and the heart attack and everything, I learned a lot from you about how to recover myself and how to fix burnout, basically. And it was so easy. I'd been in burnout for years. Stressed, miserable, overworked, frustrated, resentful, all of that, not performing. And I couldn't get myself out of the hole. And I think a lot of guys try and dig themselves out of that hole and they find out they can't. Now I run a burnout program for other professional people in the same hole, and I can help them come through burnout back to resilience, performance, enjoyment really, really quickly, which I find stunning.
Yeah, that's great.
That's my niche now. I work for the Life Coach School as well. I'm coaching and mentoring and stuff, but in my private business, I'm working with people in burnout.
Yeah, so we have you doing some executive work at the Life Coach School and managing some people to create a program. You're also coaching in there, and then you also have your own business.
Yeah.
And are you loving it?
I love everything about it. I love all of it. I love coaching.
That's so great.
My whole thing really is I want to be an example of what's possible as a heart-centered leader. But really, I want to be an example of what's possible in LCS as a man, as a male coach.
Yes.
So I think it's really important. When I came in, there was hardly any.
Right. So good. Speaking of hardly any, Dave Moreno, when you first came to the school, were you like the only dude? You were like one of a few, right?
Yeah, there was 2 of us in certification back in 2016, me and a guy named Mike. But I remember coming to the first mastermind as a dude, and there were so few of us that we just knew each other. And we were we put a message out on Slack and we're like, hey, any guys coming want to grab dinner? And there were 3 of us who met for dinner, and those were the only guys. So there was the bald guy from Canada, me, the bald guy from Australia, that was Dex, and then the other guy with the funny accent. And it was we knew each other. And then I remember coming to a recent mastermind and being like, oh, there are males here I don't know. This is strange. There's too many of us.
That's so funny because, the school used to be so much smaller, right? And now we have hundreds and hundreds of people who go through certification. So when I went to the last mastermind and looked out, I could not believe how many guys there were. And I do find it and maybe you could speak to this, Dave, because I do find it extraordinary when my marketing is it's not even just I'm marketing towards women on the underground. It's blatantly marketing towards women. And of course, I love men and I want them to be involved, but my main focus is marketing to women. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's funny. It is blatantly, obviously, you market to women. And I use you as an example with so many clients because so many clients are so scared of niching. And they're like, yeah, but that's the only people I'll work with. And I'm like, think of Brooke. She markets to women. I went through certification and I know tons of other guys who go through certification. I think the thing is, it is such a female-focused industry for sure. It is becoming less so, which is really exciting. Yeah. But I think any male walking around who does have a touch with the emotional side, with the caring, the nurturing side, who does want to get into coaching, your marketing transfers over and still speaks to them. And that's exactly what happened to me. I remember sitting at home. It was the end of March 2016. And my wife, I owned a gym at the time called Mind Over Body Fitness. And I was helping people get fit because I had lost 120 pounds and I really wanted to help people. But I realized there was more mental than it was physical. There was nothing, you didn't need me to count your push-ups. You needed me to coach you through why you should work out today. So I was doing that, and I really wanted to get more experience with the coaching side. And my wife kept saying, there's this podcast, you got to listen to it. I'm like, I don't have time for a podcast. I was indulging and busy. I didn't have time for it. One day we were in the kitchen, I was cooking dinner, and she just put it on the speaker system in the house. So I had no choice but to listen to your voice. And she knew what she was doing. And about 10 minutes in, I go, this is really good. Who is this? And then she's like, this is the one I've been telling you about. Do you know she has a school? And it was less than 6 hours. I was on the phone with Jody in 6 hours from that podcast. And she said the most important thing to me ever, because I was like, I don't know if this is for me. And she just said, I don't think you're ready. And that completely changed everything. And I was like, whoa, hold on a second, Jody Moore. I don't know who you think you are, but I am ready. And I'm going to pay you right now. And she's like, oh, but we don't have a spot. It starts in 2 weeks. And I'm like, well, you find the spot because I'm sending you money. And so she's like,
so great.
All right, we'll figure it out. And 2 weeks later, I was in California getting certified.
Yeah. And what was your experience like because you said there was only one other guy with you going through it. What was that like to be with all women learning all this?
Well, it was a dream come true for me. I've always, my best friends have always been women. I was raised by my mom and my sisters. My dad traveled for work all growing up. So, I mean, watching Oprah and seeing rom-coms was just my upbringing. I was very in touch with that side. And so getting in a room with all women actually felt I could put my guard down. I didn't have to be alpha. I didn't have to be masculine about anything. I could just open up. And it really, that 6 days completely transformed everything for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And now what do you do?
So after years of niche trauma, of course, like everybody does, I found my niche, which is great. And so I help service-based entrepreneurs, so like coaches out there, get to the six-figure mark, grow their business by 6 figures. They're stuck, they're indulging in all the things they shouldn't be, like I did, and growing by 6 figures. And I found that finally 2 years ago, and my business has gone absolutely crazy. It's just amazing when you get in alignment and I say this, and so many people know me now from the talk saying this, but I rejected everything you told me to do for so long, and then I started doing it, and it worked. And so if you're ever indulging in that, just get out of it.
Right. Just stop it immediately.
Just stop.
So are you comfortable sharing what you'll do this year?
Yeah. So I like to tell people kind of the 3-year story, because what an overnight success. There's nothing overnight about it. Year 1 was 12,000. Last year was 180,000. And this year we'll climb just over 800K.
Nice. Well done.
We're pushing to the million, because as everybody knows, I want to be like many of my colleagues on here, one of the first guys into the 2 Comma Club. So we're pushing to the million, and with a new group we're offering, it may happen, but we'll see.
Love it. Awesome. Yeah. All right. Let's go to you, Mason.
Yes. So I'm Mason Healy. I got introduced to the podcast through my sister, actually. So through a woman, of course.
Right.
And I had been studying self-improvement, self-help, law of attraction, meditation, like all of this stuff for like 10 years. And I got to this point where I was like, I'm thinking positive thoughts. I'm trying to attract all this stuff and nothing's working. And I heard your podcast on beliefs. And I was like, oh, there's something to this. And kind of like Tyson and Dave, everything just came together for me in a way that like made logical sense. And so I was like, there's something to this. My feelings are driving my actions. That makes a lot of sense. And so coming to these conclusions, I was like, okay, this is a no-brainer. There's something to this. And so I decided to get certified, and I had a panic attack. What just happened? What am I doing? And so I definitely cried for a little bit, but now like on the other side of that, I'm so glad that I like went through the whole process. I feel like I changed so much about the way I view the world, the way I view myself, the way I carry myself, like so many things. So that was amazing. And then it's so funny because I always knew I would be on the podcast, but I thought I'd be in like this mansion with like millions of dollars and this big business under me. And so I'm like 1 year in and I already work for the life coach school. I'm on the podcast. So it's just been like an amazing experience all around.
That's so great. So did you join Scholars first?
Yes. I joined Scholars for 3 months before I decided to get certified.
Okay. So I want you to speak to this, because I have a lot of people that say, oh, I don't need to go through certification because I've been in Scholars, or I'm a diamond in Scholars. I don't really need certification. Can you speak a little bit to the difference between the two of them?
Yes, for sure. So like with scholars, it's all about like your work on yourself and being able to make your own changes. But you also don't learn like important things like holding space and like topics like staying out of the pool, just like the deeper level topics that you learn in certification.
Right.
And it's so funny because I actually tried coaching people, and I tried doing like a YouTube series where I would coach people with the model, but without being certified.
Right.
And now like looking back at that, I was like, there's no way I could have like reached the level that I'm at now without getting certified. So I think like going deeper, having the feedback, having a cohort with like different classmates who can like give you feedback and inspire you, and just having that experience in general, I think is a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing I want to say about that too is in scholars, you can get some one-to-one coaching, and you can also be on some big group calls, but in certification, there's only 10 of you, right? So it's like, there's no escape.
Yes. And it was so nice.
There's no hiding.
Yeah. It was so nice to have that constant coaching on myself and me being able to practice and like having that group to go to consistently, knowing they would be there. It's just so nice to have that.
So talk a little bit. Did you know you wanted to work for the school when you went through certification? How did that come about?
Yeah. So I applied because I thought I was like this amazing coach before I got certified. So I applied, obviously didn't get an interview or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it was like, obviously it would be an amazing dream, but I kind of put it on the back burner. I was like, let's just focus on business. So I went all in on my business, had an amazing conversation with you, and realized, oh, I'm looking for financial stability right now. And what's the fastest way I can do that? And so I was like, why not apply again? Let's just try it again. And so I applied and it worked out.
That's so awesome. So you're coaching at the school right now. Are you teaching as well, or are you just coaching part-time or full-time?
Coaching full-time. I started 3 months ago. So instructing would be amazing, but as of right now,
that's the next step.
I feel happy where I am for a second.
Yeah. We were actually just talking about this I have a mastermind group. You guys know this, but for the podcast listeners, I have a mastermind group with all my millionaire coaches who make over $1 million. And we were talking about how coaching and scholars, like being able to coach all day, every day, is like the game changer. It's the way that you become so good at coaching that it doesn't matter what anyone brings you, you know how to handle it, because it's constantly different topics every single, session all day long. So I'm stoked for you to do that, because as soon as you do that a lot, then you're really able to go into instructing, because you're basically doing that in front of people when you start instructing. So
totally. Yeah. It's like I find myself like saying the same thing over for different topics. It's like the same stuff, but just in different ways for each person. And so, I could see that lining up with instructing super well, obviously.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, let's go to you, Roman.
Hi.
Hi.
So my path here, I had no idea this was just a women's only club, So I got into my class, and I was the worst male coach in my class when I started certification. Now I'm the best male coach in my class every time. It's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
So no idea it was just women's only. So women only. So anyways, my background, I was in the FBI for 12 years. I was a special agent. And so, with
Is that as cool as it sounds?
Lots of explosions, lots of shooting people, all that stuff. No, not really. So mostly I sat at a desk and typed. So
okay.
But a little bit about that. At one point I got to guard the Attorney General for a month, Eric Holder. That was pretty cool. I worked on public corruption matters. I put handcuffs on the state senator, a bunch of police officers. I arrested a city manager, a mayor, city council members. I went after Mexican drug cartels. We would seize drugs and money and people a lot.
Wow.
I rescued slaves, human trafficking victims.
Oh my gosh.
These quiet little neighborhoods in Long Beach and in San Luis Obispo, we'd go in, people were indentured, enslaved and stuff.
Oh my goodness.
I was at the San Bernardino shooting. I was there when it was happening. And then the follow-on investigation, I was part of the small team of people who investigated that, or was looking into that cell phone.
Wow, how fascinating. Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it. I was also an EMT. So I was kind of like a rescuer, like if anything went wrong during an operation, I was the guy they'd turn to. I was in the behavioral analysis unit as well. So with that and other things in my background, I liked helping people. I liked rescuing people. But some of the things in my relationship, my personal relationship, kind of, the tragedies that I saw at the FBI kind of paled in comparison to the terror I was experiencing in my own life. Yeah. So as I was in the FBI, there was a program, I wanted to get a PhD in psychology. I had been going to therapy and trying to do self-help and stuff like that. And I wanted to become a psychologist or a therapist and retire from the FBI, 12 years from now or whatever, and then start helping people. And then my next door neighbor turned me on to your podcast, and I've been listening for 2 or 3 years now, and it was amazing. So I said, okay, the FBI is going to pay for my education, and I'm going to become a therapist. And then when I retire, I'm going to go to life coach school. But everything kind of fast forwarded. I got out of the FBI. I became a private investigator. And as a private investigator, I started running into men all over the place, like every client with the same things that I was going through, the terror, like mostly I'm finding like successful, educated, fit, healthy men in these situations where they just feel victimized. They feel like they're imprisoned and things like that. So I decided to sign up for the life coach school. I didn't do scholars. I just went right to the school, mostly to rescue myself.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing. And so I certified in March, and I'm finishing the other 6 months this month, and then I'll go from there.
Which track did you do? You do applied coaching or the entrepreneur?
I'm in applied coaching right now.
Oh, good for you. All right. And your intention is to start a business or?
Yeah, I have a full-time job right now that's really amazing. And I really love it. Their goal is to provide free energy to everyone.
Oh, okay.
So it's pretty amazing. But so I want to do that. I'm trying to coach within my company.
Yeah.
And I want to coach outside of the company too. But one thing about the life coach school, I've been to 5 different colleges. I have a master's degree in business. I've been to the FBI Academy. I've been to fire academies and the EMT school. This by far is the best education and organization I've been a part of as far as learning and growth and stuff.
What?
It's amazing. So.
I did not tell him to say that, y'all. I swear to you, I did not. That's amazing. Thank you for saying that. That's cool.
Yeah, just so much support. You could put the word out and then dozens of people respond and they're, everyone's happy. Everyone, you just feel the love. You feel the unconditional love that you teach us about. You feel it abound all over the place, and people are always willing to help. And
that's awesome.
And then I want to reach out to the men who are peppered across the country suffering right now, because I keep running into them in my office as a private investigator everywhere. It's amazing.
Yeah. So I'd like to open this up to all of you. I think that there is, maybe it's a stigma or reluctance for men to reach out, and let's just talk about in terms of clients, right? So if I'm struggling as a man, I'm going to be much less inclined to reach out to a life coach to get some help than a woman might be. Do you guys have any theory on, just put your hand up if you want to speak to it and I'll just call on you. I'll start with you, Dave, and then we'll go to you, Dex. What are your thoughts on that, Dave?
So it's really interesting because I started focusing on males in the beginning and wasn't getting as much traction as I thought I could. And I kept getting women coming in because they were so much more interested in the coaching aspect. And so what I had to do, I had to change the approach to, men wanted to hear, okay, we're going to work on strategy, we're going to work on finance, we're going to work on marketing to build your business. And they didn't want to hear all the mindset work that has to be done. They thought, okay, so if you know marketing, if you know all this. So it was a matter of, okay, here's what we're going to do. And then as we start coaching, here's what we actually do. And this is how we get to the strategy. And it opened their eyes up so much more that they were so happy, within 3-4 months of the coaching, that this was really making sense. This was different. This is my own thought. Men don't know what they need. They think they know what they need. And this is where I'm so glad you're doing this podcast, because a portion of my schedule that I wish was smaller is focused on men who contact me and want to just talk to me for 10 minutes before they sign up for the life coach school. And they're like, you're a guy, you're in it. Can I just talk to you? So I would love to now just be like, actually, there's a podcast.
To the podcast.
Yeah, it's number 300 and whatever. Go listen to it. Don't get on my schedule. But because I remember you put something in Slack a long time ago, and I've used it every time. Stop asking questions, just sign up. Just don't do it. And so I don't get on the phone with them anymore. But it's so hard for, I think, the male brain, from my experience, to really understand that there is that much within the mind that you can change, and that for yourself and for other people, that they're just blocked to it. But I think it's becoming a lot more available to them. I'm seeing it become a lot easier. I'm seeing a lot more men show up, a lot more men be willing to show emotion, be willing to open up, be willing to just break down and be like, I'm done. I need help. And I think that's because there are more men in the coaching industry, like everyone here, talking about this. It's not just women out there talking about it. So the more men that come in, I think the more men that would be interested in getting coaching.
Yeah. And here's the other thing that I think is interesting. I'll be curious what you think about this. I think as I started making more and more money, I got a lot more men who are interested in it. And I would go to my mastermind groups and, we go around the room and talk about what we do. And I'd say I'm a life coach and everyone would kind of nod off. And then we'd go around and talk about how much money we're making. And then everyone's like, wait a minute, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And I would, whenever I had my value add, I'd always talk about feelings. Everyone else would talk about Facebook ads and, copy and conversion. And I'm like, listen, the most important thing when it comes to building your business and making money and being successful, which seems to be what a lot of the men I talk to are interested in, has to do with your feelings. And life coaching can help you do that. So they're like, all right, as long as there's a payday at the end, I'm willing to do it. But I kind of like what Roman was talking about too, like just in your relationships, right? Being able to use this material to strengthen your relationships. And I think, what do you think the nervousness is about? Like that it just won't apply to them maybe?
Yeah, I think my own feedback on it is just that they have that block that it's not for them. That's not their problem. They have that dialed in. But it's so funny as we start working on the business and growing the business with so much of their mindset, all of a sudden the conversation turns to marriage, turns to family, turns to kids, turns to how they are as a father, how they react. And all of a sudden we take this detour from business and we start building their life and they see the value in it. Yeah. I just think they don't get it up front. And that's why I encourage men to get in this industry. It is such a amazing industry to be in. And it is unlimited amounts of money you can make in this, because if you focus on providing value and serving your clients, you can make as much money as you want. I don't know many industries that are like that, but we really need more men speaking about this, because when women come in, they want to work on their mindset. And I have to tell them at some point, we have to get to strategy. We have to build your business. When men come in, it's like, no, let's just work on the marketing.
Yeah. And listen, y'all, I know we're completely generalizing, but it's also my experience, like straight up, legit, circumstantial experience. Okay. What do you want to add, Dex?
Well, I think it's just that culturally men don't really expect to need coaching for being pissed off, stressed, anxious, all of those things. They'd rather not admit to all of that. They got broad shoulders, right? They think, well, I can fix all that stuff myself. What I really need to is my business, my performance in my business, my finances. But I agree with Dave. It's underneath that all. I never tell them this, right? But once we get into it, it really is about self-support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's about emotions, but they come in with performance. I'm really a performance coach.
Yes.
Because men will not look at their flaws. What they want to look at is how to improve what they're good at.
Yes.
And they're a bit confused that they're not good at it right now. It's like, I'm a brilliant person. Why aren't I nailing this?
Yeah.
Broad shoulders, I can fix anything. I'm a problem solver. Something's gone a bit wrong with the formula.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Okay, Tyson and Mason, what do you guys think about telling people that you're a life coach? How does that feel as a dude?
Well, my brain is itching to answer the last question.
Oh yeah, please.
Let me add one point to that, because I feel like I can share an example. It's like I have a conversation with my wife and she might be worried about something. And there is a part of the male brain that has a fix it mentality. So it's it's natural for me to want to fix whatever my wife's concerns on, when really what I need to do is just listen and just allow her to feel and allow for there to be feelings. And what I also understand, Brene Brown talks about, shame within men, it's always coming from the place of we don't want to be perceived as weak.
Right.
To ask someone for help, to ask a coach for help is to be perceived as weak. Mm-hmm. And so to get in touch with feelings, which have always been categorized as touchy-feely, weakness, it's that's a hard thing for many men to just allow. But I just love all the influences out there that are just talking more and more about mindset and how it's the game changer, because I think that that's what's shifting so many minds here, and that there is a logical way, and we might just categorize it as strategy and logical, and we sell them on the strategy and then really teach them, here's the truth. It's that life coaching is about brain coaching. It's brain management. And sometimes when I tell people I'm a life coach, it's like, hey, look, I help you understand why you do what you do and help you manage your brain so that you can reprogram it and create the life that you want.
Yep.
And for some reason, it's like that idea seems more appealing because it's just more factual. It's more like, it's more manly in that sense versus...
It's just so interesting, right? Because I feel like, and I think this is men and women perceive feelings and being emotional as a sign of weakness, when really what I have learned through my own work and by working with you all is that feeling our feelings is the strongest thing we can do. And our willingness to do that eliminates our fear, because so many of the men that I talk to, their biggest fear is failure, letting their family down, right? And being perceived as a weak failure, right? And so, and of course, we all know that's just a perception in our own mind. Failure is just something that we make up. So if we're willing to feel any emotion, that's the strongest stance that we can take. So it's the exact opposite. So interesting. All right. What about you, Mason? What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you like telling people you're a life coach?
Yeah. At first I was like kind of hesitant because I've always viewed life coaching as like this weird, like woo woo, just cheer me on, like accountability partner type vibe.
Yeah.
And I was like, that just doesn't sound interesting. It doesn't sound like anything I'd even want to tell people about. But now, like going through it, I'm almost excited because I like want them to view me as the underdog. I'm like, wait, you'll just see. It's like, not only do I have coaching, but I also have like all of these tools that can help me get anything I want. So it's almost kind of fun to like hide behind the title of life coach when they don't really know what it means. And I'm just like,
interesting.
You can sit back and take notes and watch how this will unfold. So I kind of like it, honestly.
That's cool. What about you, Roman? Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think you read these amazing stories or watch these things on Netflix or whatever of these people who make dramatic change in their life. Like they're 55 years old and they run a marathon. But what happens is you don't see the part where they're sitting in front of a doctor and he's like, you're going to die if you don't change your lifestyle. And I think what I see in life coaching is like, and of course, the precursor to this was my experience with the men. And as a private investigator, they're men stripped down of all hope. And they're in a tragic situation. So they're at rock bottom. And so they have to do something. So I feel like it's more like a rescuing mentality, you know, like people have tried and tried and tried. And they're, you know, I have a guy who's a real estate developer and he lives on Kauai. And I have another guy who flew in from another country and, you know, and he's a millionaire and stuff like that. And just people like successful people are just, it's like their Achilles heel, their one weakness, but it's all consuming and you can't do anything else if you don't manage your feelings and your thoughts and your personal mental health. And it's, you know, on both ends, the criminal aspect or the homelessness, it's just everyone needs mental health and we have it to offer and some people are willing to pay for it. So I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I think a lot of the times it takes the rock bottom. Like the most emails I get from men are men who can't stop drinking. That's like their main thing. And they love the idea that they can use my stop over drinking program, but they're like afraid and they want to make sure like if they go into Scholars to get that stop over drinking program, that no one will be able to see them. Right? Nobody will know I was ever in there and nobody will know I'm ever learning from a life coach and they just want my reassurance from that. And I think that's so interesting because the shame around reaching out and getting help to make yourself stronger when you have nowhere else to go, like that being the only avenue. I want people to, especially men, to be able to come through our programs in a preventative way. Not have to hit the bottom. Or it's kind of like this, right, Roman? It's like you either hit the bottom or you hit the top and realize that there's no there.
Right.
I think that's a lot of men too, right? They make all the money, they get all the success and they get all the things. And then they're like, wait, why don't I feel better? Why don't I feel like I've arrived? Why is there still so much shame and hesitancy inside of me? And so I think being able to have that conversation with other men too, with other men and with other women in a way where you can maintain your strength and dignity and your perception of yourself, I think is what we do at the Life Coach School very well. So what would you guys say to someone? Let's imagine them. There's there's a dude that like his sister or wife told him to listen to the podcast. And he's like, oh, finally, there's one for men. And he like turns this one on. And then he's like thinking in the back of his mind like, really? Like maybe I could do this program. Maybe this would be the thing that could help me. And like, even if you don't want to become a life coach, going through the life coach certification is such a transformational experience as a human. What would you say to that person? Let's start with you, Dex.
I just can't even imagine holding back from that now. It's kind of a whole dimension of life where you get to support yourself in the way you wished you always could.
Yeah.
And all of these frustrations and resentments and stuckness in life, you don't have to sit in that place. But I think in other ways, we didn't find our way out. But one of my best clients at the moment is a professor of neuroscience.
Nice.
And there's all these people who are, particularly men, who are very, very experienced, skilled, intelligent, and all of that, who are still like,
yeah.
But this is the release from that.
Love it.
The self-knowledge you get from the training.
Yeah. And remember, self-knowledge is what gives you strength. Self-awareness is what gives you strength. I think a lot of ways that, you know, in our education that we're trained is like, you need to go learn the things out there in the world in order to be strong. But really the strength comes from understanding yourself and being aware of that. What about you, Tyson?
Yeah. So when you were talking about either hitting rock bottom or getting to the top and not thinking that you need some help to get further, it's like, for me, I'm just like, I just wanted to improve. And the model and what you teach, it made so much sense to me. It's clear, it's actionable. So it's like, to me, it's like, it's almost just like, it's even just a logical thing. It's like, hey, there's a formula. It works. Would you like to try it?
Right.
and that you don't need to hit rock bottom. You can live a much more amazing life if you just give yourself the chance to explore someone else's teachings besides just like strategy, besides what you may think is manly. And so just being able to be willing and open to, hey, there's this process that if you follow it, you can literally change how you feel every single day, and that you can direct your life in a much more meaningful and fulfilling and a way that works. Yeah. And so that for me was like, I want to do this. I know it will help other people. And so whether it aligns with your purpose and what you want to do in terms of helping others, like this has been the best experience, best investment by far.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. I think a lot of times people hear life coaching and they think we're all having a cuddle and, you know, and kumbaya, and that it's kind of the opposite of that, my friends. Yeah. Warning, you will be confronted with yourself. But the model is like math. It's very logical if you learn it. It's not just a bunch of like feeling your way with your intuition or, you know, it's once you learn it, you'll be like, okay, this makes sense. This isn't just something that's talking about something that I can't grab a hold of. So yeah, that's a great point. All right, let's go to you, Mason.
Yeah. So I think to touch on what you just said, like the work that you do on the brain and like how much knowledge we learn about the brain just in general makes it so like logical and easy for me to understand. So I loved that. But I think going through certification really gave me like the genuine belief that like whatever life throws at me, I can handle it. So like even that knowing, just finding confidence in that and like strength in that, it's like coming out on the other side, knowing that like whatever happens, I can handle it. I can navigate around it. And it's like a genuine belief. Like I'm not just saying that, like that excites me. So I think there's a lot of strength and power in being able to find that out for yourself.
Yeah, that's really well said. Okay. What about you, Dave?
Yeah. So it's funny. I think, first of all, when you said about introducing as a life coach, I just wanted to add one quick thing to that.
Yeah.
My wife's also a certified coach. She got certified a year after me. And it's really funny because we do like these experiments where we'll go into like a retailer or a car dealership or a bank or something. And they'll ask my wife, like, what do you do? And she says, life coach. And there's this little kind of like cute chuckle. Yeah. Right. And then they'll ask me, what do I do? And I'm like, life coach. And it's really interesting to see them react differently. I almost think it's easier for a guy to introduce himself as a life coach because I think people automatically are like, whoa, a guy's doing this. Like, this isn't just a multi-level marketing, stay-at-home mom kind of like coach your friends with wine and cuddle.
Yes.
And to your point about like cuddling, I actually thought that's maybe what this was. And then I showed up on day one, and I'll tell you, Brooke has never cuddled anybody. I was like,
I am not a cuddler.
I was in such need of cuddling, and you like tore me down in 10 minutes. And I was like, damn it. But I think that the biggest problem is that men face ego, and the male ego is so much more of a deterrent for them to do things. So I'd rather feed the ego. And I would tell anyone listening to this, if you want to be on the cutting edge of one of the biggest and most important evolutions of the male species that's ever existed, you join the life coach school, you learn about this, and you get in now before you're left behind understanding what's this mindset stuff that everyone's doing. Because I think that is what most guys are most afraid of getting into, is that this is a feminine thing, the mindset stuff. Other guys won't understand this. I'm telling you, it's happening. It's going to happen with all the events in the world. People need to be more in tune to how their mind works and not live by default, control what's going on. And that's where, as you said, I think it's the strongest thing any guy can do. And if a woman in your life, your sister, your wife, anybody has told you to listen to a podcast or told you to do something, the best advice I give any man is whatever woman is important in your life, listen to her, because she's there to make sure you do what you're supposed to do. And so you should always be listening to female influences in your life.
Love it. So good. All right. What about you, Roman?
So first of all, I would cuddle with any of you dudes any day. If you have to go there. But I think a lot of this stuff...
Hey, listen, we do a little bit of cuddling after we tear you down, okay?
So I think there's the word stigma comes to mind that keeps us from doing any of this stuff. But what I would say to someone is something I've already said. This is the best education. I've been to all kinds of weird schools and trainings and stuff like that. This is by far the best training I have ever had, and I love it. And so what I would say is we need you men, and you need us. And if they're wavering on this, they should pick a goal, whether it's, I want to climb Mount Everest, I want to increase my income, I want to replenish my relationship with my children or whatever. You pick a goal and figure out what have you been doing to achieve that, and how are you with achieving that, and where will you be in a year if you don't. This is the place to figure out how to achieve those things, how to control your brain instead of just, I was a passenger in my life, and I felt like, oh, this is never going to end. When is this going to end? Just praying and praying for some sort of miracle. And the miracle is me. The miracle is right in between my ears. And it's amazing to have learned this stuff. And I can't wait to share it with everyone who will listen.
Yeah, that's so great. I think for so many people on the outside that don't understand the model and don't really understand what we do at the life coach school, it's confusing for them, for us to be like so excited about other people to do what we're doing. We really want to bring other people in. And I think it's part of what we learn in terms of an abundance mentality, and like understanding that it's not a zero-sum game. It's not like if we bring other people in and they're successful, that it somehow takes away from our success. It's the exact opposite. The more we can build everybody up. And for me, it's this industry, this life coaching industry, since, I started it however many, what's it been, 15 years ago, where people didn't even know what the heck I was talking about until now, like going to random public places and so many people recognizing me and recognizing like this industry and paying attention to the podcast. I feel like, I was just telling our marketing team, I'm like, I feel like I've never felt as driven as I do to make sure that men know that we're here and know that this is available to them, and that there shouldn't be a stigma about it. If you feel like, oh, that's not, I'm too strong for that, just give us a try. We'll prove you wrong right away, right? We'll help you out with that. Okay, so here's how I want to end. I would love for you all to share if you have something that you want to offer our listeners. You have a website they can go to. Maybe some people that are listening want to work with you directly. Is there a way for them to do that? How do they get in touch? Let's start with you, Tyson.
So anybody that's wanting to work on their time management, I do like to work with coaches, but have other clients like that. But they can get in touch with me at tysonbradley.me. So UASONBRADLEY.me.
And then do you do one-on-one or are you doing groups now?
Still doing
one-on-one. Okay. So if you need help with your schedule, getting stuff done, you're procrastinating, check out Tyson. He is the master at helping you figure out your schedule and get your work done. All right. What about you, Dex?
So I work with guys in burnout, stress, overwork, frustration, and all that at work. And you can reach me on mini.dexrandle.com.
Mini, M-I-N-I?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, if I go to your site and sign up, what happens?
I do a consult with people so they can tell me what's happening for them and I can help them, show them how we can work with that. And then I've got a one-on-one program.
Okay. So is that consult weird? I mean, do I need to prepare for it? Is it going to be awkward? What is that like?
No, it's super easy. We'll just talk about what's pissing you off and we'll talk about how to fix it.
Okay, perfect.
I'll do all the heavy lifting.
Yes. I think that's important to say. Like, you just need to come to the call and Dex is going to tell you exactly, like, he's going to ask you all the questions. You don't have to bring anything. And it's a perfect opportunity to vent for free, right? I mean, if nothing else.
Absolutely. Come and tell me all your problems. I'll fix them.
Come just let it all out. All right. What about you, Mason?
Yes. So you can find me in Scholars. So you could join Scholars and I'll be one of your coaches probably.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I also do my own business outside of Scholars where I coach young people with social anxiety. And so to find out more about that, they can find me at masonhealy.com.
masonhealy.com. There are a lot of people listening. And you work with men and women?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Social anxiety. Mason and I have actually talked about this a lot. If you've had someone try to help you with social anxiety, maybe you've gone to a therapist, maybe you've read about it and it didn't work, try Mason out. We have a process and a way of approaching social anxiety because both he and I have it, and how we deal with it is a very different approach than what you might expect. So go ahead and check him out. All right. What about you, Dave?
So people who want to learn more about me can go to my website, which is davemoreno.ca. Real simple, but I'm actually on a wait list for my one-on-one. I'm about a 3-month wait list right now. So I've actually opened up groups. We've done successful 6-figure foundation groups. So it's actually teaching everyone the 6 steps to a foundation to build a 6-figure business that's simple, sustainable, and not going to drive you crazy. So we have a 6-week foundations mastermind course, and they can learn about that at sixfiguregrowth.com. And the next one's actually in September. It's limited enrollment, but that's where I'm feeding people into now because I just can't keep up with the one-on-one demand at this point.
I actually think group coaching for your first 100K is actually really powerful too, to have that community and other people. We were just talking about this in our mastermind call the other day. And, we have everyone in there's making $1 million now. And it's so funny. I'm always like, well, the hard part's over because we all agreed your first 100K is by far the hardest money you will ever make. After you make 100K, you're just going to build and scale from there. So you want to make sure that foundation is super solid. So I think you do a really nice job with that, Dave. And I think that, I think one of the things that makes you so good at what you do is you just struggled so hard to do it yourself. So when people come to you and they're a hot mess, you get it, right? You understand it. So
I would never coach someone or have them do something that I haven't done. And I think that's where my power's always been. I started in weight loss because I had lost the weight and I found that powerful. And then I found the biggest problem I had in life, my struggle to make that 100K, to get that 100K award, to get on stage. My long struggle with that was actually my gift because that is now how I build every client's of mine foundation. And the clients are loving going through it. The way I explain it is not just theory. It's here's my example. Here's what I went through. Here's what I did. And here's how it worked out. So they can see the how. They can see the whole journey to it. And like I said before, there are 10 problems to making your next whatever amount of dollars you want to make. But I think the 10 problems to make 100K are the hardest problems. The 10 problems to make $1 million, they're still problems. They're just not as hard because you've already figured out the first 10.
Well, yeah. And just think about your trajectory, right? If you think about that first 100K, if making 100K was as hard as that first one, then the second year, you'd probably only make 200. Right. And you're already at 800 now. So it's like, oh, I got it. Now we just put the gas on.
Yeah. Because my goal when I first got the 100K award and we hit 180K, my goal was to at least do 200 next year. Yeah. But once you're there, you can't turn it off. Like once the train's rolling, there's no stopping it. And so to look at our numbers last month and be like, we're at 800K this year, it boggles my mind. And I remember Katrina saying this to me one time at a retreat, but it's like monopoly money at that point. Like you just don't even know, it doesn't feel real. And then you just start showing up and serving and providing value. And then it keeps going and you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't stop it. But you're doing the right things. You're providing impact and you're helping people with their pain, which is what we all do.
It's so exciting because I think people hear us say numbers like 800K and they can't even, because getting 100K is so hard, they can't even wrap their mind around it. So anybody listening who thinks that's not realistic, there's something I'm missing, this guy's a life coach, he's making it 800K a year, that doesn't make any sense. He doesn't even sound that smart. He's talking about feelings, right? Anyone listening to this who's like skeptical because you've been in some MLM somewhere, done some weird kind of thing where they promised you that, listen, we're not promising you're going to make 800K, but I just really want you to consider that it is possible. Like it could be true, and give yourself a chance to maybe at least have the conversation about it. All right.
Yeah, because I think if you doubt it, I think you just go to sixfiguregrowth.com and I will prove you wrong every step of the way like you did for me.
That's awesome. All right. What about you, Roman?
So my niche is I work with successful men who are in a relationship with someone diagnosed with borderline personality disorder.
Oh, okay.
Everything that goes with that. However, I'm open to helping all kinds of things. My website is romangarcialifecoaching.com. And you can reach me by email at romangarcialifecoaching.com as well.
That's so awesome. I didn't realize you were in a relationship with someone diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, but all of what that brings up, like all of the work that we do, that just puts it like on a heightened level. Yeah. Wouldn't you agree?
It's urgent. It's an urgent matter.
Urgent. So you're going to be good at coaching on anything, but specifically, if you're listening to this and you know someone that is in that situation, please let them listen to this podcast. Please have them search out Roman. I've had a lot of clients come to me with that issue. And so that's an amazing niche that you're offering that's available.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for coming on and being on the podcast and talking. And thank you so much for having the courage to sign up for the Life Coach School and setting an example for other men who may secretly want to do something like this and not be sure that they can, and for being so honest about it. Do not contact them and get on their calendars to talk about the Life Coach School. You do not need any more information to make this decision. They have told you everything you need to know. If you're afraid, that's okay. Sign up anyway. We would love to have you join us. There will be a lot of women there, but we're super stoked to have dudes involved as well. So if you want to find out more information or you want to see us all on video, we're going to post this video because we recorded this on Zoom. Just go to thelifecoachschool.com/332 and you can find out all the links for everyone there in the show notes, and you can see us on video. All right, everyone, have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you all next week. Hey, if you enjoy listening to this podcast, you have to come check out Self-Coaching Scholars. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and we apply it. We take it to the next level and we study it. Join me over at thelifecoachschool.com/join. Make sure you type in the lifecoachschool.com/join. I'd love to have you join me in Self-Coaching Scholars. See you there.